Allied reinforcements land in Taiwan circa 2032. This honestly feels a little bit too real, but alright. We can clearly see there are only small pockets of Taiwanese forces still holding up within these mountains. Everything else is red. And I wonder who red could be exactly. Oh wait, the Chinese flag is right there, never mind. So, China is trying to stop a future D-Day from happening, and the Allied forces is Australia, New Zealand, the EU, the US, Japan, and the UK. Only thing is, would we really land on the southern part of the island and not the north? Seems like there's more territory up here, and then like Japan is somewhere up here too. We probably organize a lot more divisions from there and then just head straight south. And now who can we expect to reinforce China? Because this is about the point where they're gonna need some help. Now you're probably thinking it'd be awesome to do something like this in a strategy video game. Well, then you probably want to check out today's sponsor, Conflict of Nations. This is a free online PvP strategy game. Choose a real country to lead in modern global warfare. Fight up to 128 other players in real time in games that can take weeks to complete. Use many different units to build your army, tanks, jets, nuclear submarines. Declare war on your neighbors or forge alliances with other players. Choose your own strategy, engage in epic battles, and take over the world. Definitely one of my favorite aspects of the game is the PvP. It's really cool knowing you're going up against all these other players. You can play with the same account on both PC and mobile, and you get an exclusive gift. You can click on the link in the description to get 13,000 gold and 1 month of premium subscription for free. Offer only available for 30 days. Get into this as soon as possible. So there's gonna be a special game created for just my viewers who click that link first. More details will be shared at the end of the video. Here's a world map showing all of these submerged continents of the world, or if sea level actually dropped somehow. We'd be picking up at least another 5 major land masses and countless new islands. Imperialization 2, Electric Boogaloo. I actually might have heard of a lot of these lands, like for instance, Zealandia. In another universe, this could have been the Chad continent we got, but instead we got just virgin New Zealand. There's also other classics like Doggerland in the North Sea and Atlantis. Some of these places are actually just mythical folklore, but I've always heard about their placement, like Mu here, west of the Americas. Well, I guess Atlantis could have been included in that too. I should have said this earlier. And then there's Hyperboreal. Boreal? I almost missed this place. I guess this is included. It's like Antarctica if it was a hat, and a hat for Earth. Here's a map of Africa if the scramble for Africa never happened. There would be still some territory controlled by the Europeans. This is just stuff they had before the whole scramble thing actually happened. Now, I feel like the biggest change instantly that I notice is the lack of straight lines. Those dang European colonizers loved putting straight lines everywhere. There are still some straight lines. Look at this mega Chad Egypt. These dudes are dipping all the way down there. They're ready to just kick everyone out of Africa. They're definitely going for the domination victory on this continent. Now, like I said in the very beginning, there were some European countries that ended up getting territory, but they got pushed back. So there's still like European influences. It's just that Africa united and got them out of there, except for this territory. France kept that. Maybe this is like 1800s and they got Napoleon ruling and he's just too powerful. I present to you the Holy Roman Empire, but the Empire of America. If you didn't know, the HRE back in Europe was really disgusting, and they have successfully made America very disgusting. I mean, I'm actually surprised it isn't way worse. I mean, the real thing is still so much worse. It seems like most of the small little splintered territory is actually like in the Rust Belt. Michigan got a lot of that for some reason, and for some reason in this timeline full of horrible border gore, it's Delaware that is the emperor. Delaware controls these states, but there are also electors that elect the emperor. Florida and California being among some of them. California is one of the only places that actually got more stuff, and so did Texas. Texas is huge now. I love that they still included Alaska and Hawaii, but they were not spared. Even they were divided into multiple little chunks. I don't know why. Honestly, to me, was anything changed in New England? This still looks like New England pretty much to me. Just a bunch of small little things going on over here. I don't know. No one knows what's going on over here. Love the Kingdom of Virginia, though. I definitely support this idea. Let's just unite the Virginias. Just completely get rid of the Carolinas, I guess. West Virginia isn't even a part of this. They're doing their own thing called the Appalachians. I also love that the state flags have now become shields. Very accurate as well. But definitely my money is on the Texas Confederation to actually form the United States whenever the battle royale begins and everyone just goes to war with each other. What if the Roman Empire was actually in Northern Europe? I almost did the same exact alternative history with the same concept and everything about a year or two ago. It looks like the capital is in Riga, Lithuania, and from there they expanded around the Baltic Sea. It'd be very hard for the Romans at that time to get a lot of this stuff up here since it is freezing cold. I would assume they probably went south and conquered all the way to the lowlands. Then from there, they figured out how they're gonna get all this icy stuff. This is also like, what if the Roman Empire were just Vikings? All I'm seeing is the Vikings, like 1,000 years earlier. Population is 70 million, but they can't just stop here. You know they were gonna get much bigger than this. And I like to think in this universe, it's Italy that is the barbarians. Barbarians that are going to burn down Rome. Or maybe Carthage is still around in North Africa. Maybe a giant Carthage eventually defeats them. What if China got everything they wanted? We did something very similar like this with Russia. This is a universe where China or one of its previous successors kept everything it's ever had, plus it's won every war it's ever been a part of completely outright, as well as even just some land that they just kind of wanted but didn't do anything about. They just wanted it but never actually tried. Now a lot of this they actually controlled during the Tang Dynasty. This was around 700 AD. They reached all the way down into northern Vietnam. They had parts of North Korea, as well as they were approaching the Caspian Sea. That's how far west they got. The other thing they've included in that map is vassals or tributary states. If they basically ruled over one of these empires like a puppet master, they were also given that territory. Now that's of course the stuff that they actually got. That wasn't all the wars they ever won. This is a world where they've won 100% of every battle and they got everything out of it. Now, China never had much interest in colonization. They did a lot of exploring, but they never did anything with America. I would assume in a universe where they were completely winning every war and not taking any dubs, they probably would have colonized it in this sense. Like for thousands of years, they never took an L. They probably would have found America and got over here and explored some stuff. Well, they actually probably would have gotten all of Indonesia and discovered Australia first, I would guess. Then from there, with a puppet Japan, they'd probably sail east and find California one day. The Chinese colony of California, that sounds pretty good. Here is the Greater Nordic Council of 2055, a world where Northern Europe has decided we're gonna do our own union. This time, we're just using Vikings only. So included in this council would obviously be all the Nordic countries, as well as some Baltic ones. They've even figured out a way to squeeze in Scotland, because Scotland, I guess, gets their independence at some point. Also, in 2055, our world's gonna be pretty hot. Those ice caps definitely melting, so this actually might be a nice vacation spot at that point. Come visit the good old tropical islands of Scotland. It's gonna feel like the Caribbean. Not exactly sure how they'd be able to defend themselves in a war, assuming like Russia decides to do their old tricks again and go after the Baltics or even Finland. Well, Finland can defend themselves. We have historical knowledge of that, but might be kind of hard to keep these three safe. A post-World War III map circa 2043. I don't know exactly who was on what side, but it looks like China won, that's for sure. China was clearly trying to regain some of that Tang Dynasty territory. They got all of Mongolia, and they did get Taiwan, that's for sure. Oh, and they've successfully eliminated one of their enemies, India. India is completely broken apart. Clearly, Russia was in on an alliance with the Chinese. They got some stuff over here. Belarus and Ukraine has been completely landlocked. We also have a united Korea, but something tells me that is not worse Korea. That is probably best Korea that controls all that. There's also some like weird stuff going on, like either small revolts or I don't know if I don't think Allied forces won in this war, so I don't know why they would have stuff. Maybe the US grabbed small things. A Roman Empire that escaped to the New World, and just like Germany, they have escaped to South America. The Roman Imperial Republic, the largest city is Nova Roma. Oh, this isn't if Rome colonized the world. This is if Rome started in South America or the Western Hemisphere. We've got barbarian tribes and the Scythians in Argentina, and some other things going on over here. I don't even know what's going on over here. Well, they have a lot more of expanding to do if they're gonna live up to the Roman name in Europe, but this is the year 11 AD, so maybe this is like if all of the barbarians and the tribes at the time started colonizing. Here are some of the largest cities of the world. These are of the Western Hemisphere, because we have like old school names out here. It looks like Alexandria being one of them. I've seen this horrible projection before. I am disgusted, but it is where the oceans are all connected. I mean, anytime you try to put a globe into a flat map, you could do weird things with it and it would all technically still count. This is if dolphins mapped the world, because dolphins don't know what the hell's going on inland at all. They just know about the oceans. They have their own little aquatic countries out here. The Central Pacific pods, the Ryukyu pods. I'd like to visit there. Theocracy of California. So also the dolphins are like forming governments at this point, making civilizations just underwater. Well, what do I mean by this this point, maybe they are actually doing that. How would we know? We don't know what they're doing down there. What if South America never broke away from Africa? So clearly in this world, there was still like a scramble for Africa, a scramble for Afro-South America. There was some type of colonization going on because you have the Republic of Argentina as well as the United States of that. It's also a relief map. Not sure how accurate this is, but we actually have mountains not near like Peru. The Amazon is still looking very vegetation-like, but there's massive mountain ranges throughout the continents that connect both of them actually. It almost looks like there could be like a really epic Suez Canal. We've got this small sliver of water with a river right here as well as on the other side. The problem is they'd have to go through this mountain range, and that would not be fun. And this is like miles and miles. I think at this point they'd rather just sail around this South American continent. Would this even be like, I think they would call it separate continents, just like they do Europe. Like there's just no way. You can't just call this huge thing just Africa. Call it left Africa. That's what I think South America should have been called. Carthage, if it was more like Byzantium, or if Carthage somehow escaped and survived for a little bit to be around the same time Byzantium was about to collapse. So in this world, Carthage was able to last a little bit longer by going around Africa and going somewhere in the Ivory Coast. And it is definitely safe to say that they'd probably survive if they could somehow, if they like just kept some technology. They'd have to watch out for the Empire of Mali. Empire of Mali around this time got a bunch of money, right? They might just get bought out to stop existing. Population is 26 million. They'd also be following Carthaginian Islam. Now that's a new one I've never heard before. I like their largest city, New Carthage, original, as well as the Portuguese city of Lisbon also. The partition of Germany just after World War II, but the Dutch are epic. For some reason, the Dutch were given massive amounts of territory. The Soviets still got a lot of Eastern Germany, but damn, the Dutch are going to be holding things down with their tulips and windmills over here. Be a lot more people riding bikes, I think that's for sure, and like stopping the sea from taking over land, right? I'm trying to think of all the implications this would lead to. Somehow, Bavaria would become 50% sea, 50% weed. They even got this stuff over here, Hamburg, and this little port city. That's nice. The Great American War, or if No America survived and pulled the whole Western Hemisphere into WW1, it looks like. First thing I'm noticing is the Dominion of Canada somehow got Cascadia and a lot of our like Pacific states. They are fighting alongside the No Americans, so that means that did the US join Germany? I'm guessing the US joined Germany during the Great War. Mexico did as well. They must have got the Zimmerman letter but telling them to attack the South. Mexico's big and thick and sexy because they got all the old states. Obviously Texas doesn't exist. Colombia pretty big down here too. Peru and Brazil are trying to aid No America, but it doesn't look too good. This looks pretty divided actually. And then you have Jamaica, which I'm assuming the British forces are there helping out. Chile and Argentina probably just don't want to be on the same side as Peru and Brazil, so they're just willing to join anybody. There's multiple alliances. The American Entente, again supported by the other Entente of Europe, Great Britain, and actually France too. Oh, it's actually Germany that supports Mexico and northern USA. The Great European Buffer Zone, keeping the balance of power. This looks like it was made somewhere in the last like 200 to 300 years, and it's this massive line nation from the United Provinces to Luxembourg that cuts all the way throughout Austria, Romania too. So the Black Sea's here, North Sea's here. It keeps like Germany, Poland, Russia away from France, Spain, the UK. Italy's on this side too. What horrible things happen in this universe for them to think this was an okay idea? Because I am horrified. I don't think it's ever gonna be an okay idea. I don't care how bad it is. Don't do that. I don't want to look at that. The European Federation, but in 2036. So obviously, first thing is the United Kingdom is broken up. Kingdom is gone, but England and Wales actually haven't decided to join the Federation. Ireland is united, and with Scotland's help, they have joined this little group thing going on. France, for some reason, has Catalonia? Or Catalonia got their independence and joined whatever this blue thing is. Is blue like the more important member states, and are these like only partial member states? Even Norway joined. Norway's not a part of the EU, right? But they have like partial status. Wait, the Swiss joining? No, I'm sorry. That's where I have to put the line down. Too unrealistic. Everything else, okay, yeah, I could see that. The Swiss just joining in on anything. It's just not gonna happen. What's going on with the Balkans here too, man? That looks a little crazy. Again, as I said, this video was sponsored by Conflict of Nations. It is free and online and a PvP strategy game happening in modern global warfare. It takes place in the late 20th century and early 21st century, and each nation must carry carefully be managed and developed researching new units while building the required infrastructure, and it also allows players to form cooperative clans and teams in an all-effort battle to conquer set objectives. I created a special game. Please use game name Durnil and password Durnil. You can get an exclusive gift by clicking on the link in the description down below. That's 13,000 gold and 1 month of premium subscription for free. Again, this offer is only available for 30 days, so you're going to want to get on that quick. Choose your country and fight your way to victory. And big thanks to the patrons of May: Drew's Argentinian Grandpa, I'm About a Nut, LuxembourgLover, Poppy Drew Woo, I Love Durnil, AryanAfterHours, Stormtrooper 501, Zeffi, Patrick C, Manny 74, Kaylee K, M203 BrushEm, Ian L, FusionWolf, Anthony G, Nick, EpiNick, Elijah Senpai, Dalton D, Call of Tortoise, Anikyte, Aaron F, and Aaron F2.